What's up, everyone? For weeks now, I've been getting requests to do a how-to series on the channel on where I sort of go through all my different loadouts and give some tips and tricks on how to improve your overall gameplay with different classes and heroes. Now, I know that there's some videos already on YouTube where people give their hero tips and tricks, but I figured I'd give my personal take on it since I have more experience and probably have different opinions / strategies compared to other channels. Now, these are just my personal strategies, and they may or may not work for you. Not everybody plays the same, but these are the things that I found to work best for me, and hopefully they can improve your gameplay as well. Now, starting off this series, I decided to go with Palpatine, since people had so much trouble with him before the last patch. He can be a little tricky to get the hang of at first, but once you master Palpatine, in my opinion, he's easily one of the best villains in the entire game. So what makes him so good? Well, his insane speed and agility makes him a very difficult target to hit while he's spinning around, stunning you from midair. That and all his abilities work great together compared to the other heroes. And depending on what star cards you choose, you can be anything from a flying, self-healing boss from the last Battlefront to a hero-stunning murder machine for you and your teammates.
But Master Swanee, what star cards are we going to choose?
Whoa there, young Padawan. You gotta learn to walk before you can take off dead sprint. Now, there's a few things you need to learn about Palpatine before you go choosing your star cards. Just some basic movements that you may or may not know about Palpatine.
Oh, thank you, Master.
Oh, don't worry about it, little buddy. By the end of this video, you'll be a full-fledged Sith Lord, I guarantee it. Alright, so let's talk basics. A few tips right off the bat is, number one, make sure you spin everywhere you go. You want to be as fast as possible getting from point A to point B while being as hard to hit as possible. When dashing, you can dash twice in a row before he needs to do a little cooldown, but I basically just spam the dash button over and over and over to sort of get past this. So rule number one, always stay on the move. Rule number two is anytime you aren't spinning, make sure you're jumping. You need to either be in the air or dashing, just constantly. Just do it in circles if you have to. Anytime you're facing off against an enemy, you need to either be in the air or trying to dash around them, because if they're looking up into the sky to shoot you and then they have to look down and then they have to look to the left and to the right, they're not going to be able to keep up with you. You can shoot them in midair and they're not even going to know you're there. So always remember to stay on the move. Just remember dash, 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 jump, jump, jump. Which leads us to tip number 3. Anytime you're about to enter an area with a bunch of enemies, make sure you activate your Dark Aura. It slows enemies' movements, which prevents them from making those quick turns for when you dash behind them, and it prevents them from making quick escapes. It even does a small amount of damage to them so that even if you don't get the kill, you'll still get the assist, which leads to more eliminations. Okay, so tip number 4 is something that a lot of people actually don't realize that Palpatine can do, and that's multitask. Now, I'm not sure if this is a glitch or if it's actually supposed to work this way, but Palpatine can use 2 different abilities at the same time. For example, you can continually shock using both the triggers, and you can use your electrocute ability or your chain lightning at the same exact time. Meaning you can do tons of damage all at once and not have to wait for a cooldown between your abilities. Now, from what I found, this seems to be pretty unique to Palpatine. For example, Darth Vader can't block and force choke, or saber throw and force choke, and Luke can't force push and block, and Kylo can't freeze and block at the same time. So I don't know if this is a bug or what, but it really makes Palpatine pretty powerful if used in the right situations.
Thank you so much, Master Swanee. But now that I know all these steps, could we choose our star cards now?
Well, sure thing, little buddy. Let's head over to the star card menu and we'll discuss which star cards to use for certain game modes and which star cards are best for certain situations. Okay, so here's the tricky part that everybody wants to know, and that's what star cards to use. Okay, I like to look at it as every character in this game has 2 different types of builds. I look at it as there's a heroes versus villains build, and then there's a galactic assault build. Now, the current setup I have for Palpatine, I have forked lightning, the rule of 2, and then I have in full control. That is my heroes versus villains build. Now, I'll discuss that first. Forked lightning. Now, the sort of build you want to go for like a heroes versus villains thing is that you want to immobilize the enemy. Now, there's 4 enemy heroes with lightsabers and force powers and blasters and all kinds of crazy crap coming at you, so I went with electrocute. Now, electrocute is something that I do not recommend using in Galactic Assault because while you're using that ability, you can't defend yourself. Like you're a sitting duck. You're just sitting still and you're shooting the ground, and it's just not... Do not recommend it for infantry. Now, if you're facing someone that's using a lightsaber, for example, and they have to sprint at you, this is pretty good to use. So I go with Fork Lightning because it increases the area of effect. So if I'm getting lunged at by like 2 different heroes at once, I can have a pretty wide spread, and I can have increased range so I can stop them a little bit further before they can get to me. Now the reason I didn't go with like the Prime Electrocution, for example, is because, I mean, it increases the duration that they're frozen, which sounds pretty cool, but I mean, it only works if there's 3 or more targets. So there's very few situations where you actually have 3 or the entire team charging at you at the same time in Heroes vs. Villains. So I decided not to go with this one. Now this may fit your style of play a little bit better, but for me, I decided to pass. And then I decided to go with the Rule of 2, which is Palpatine's two-handed lightning attack deals bonus damage to enemies that are electrocuted. So that pairs well with this one. So if they're frozen from the electrocution, and let's see the abilities. Electrocution does... Palpatine electrocutes enemies in front of him, immobilizing them. So they're frozen from the electrocution and the fork lightning, and then as they're frozen, I do even more damage to them. So that's a win-win right there. So they're frozen, I'm doing more damage, my teammates are probably shooting at them. I just look at Palpatine more of like a support character, and I just get a lot of assists. So the third card I went with In Full Control, which my attacks do less stamina drain. So as they're frozen, I noticed that, I mean, they sit pretty frozen for a while, and then they're like stunned from you shocking the crap out of them. Well, I mean, if you have less stamina drain, then you can shock them longer and you can deal even more damage. So I found that that does a little bit more for me than like increased range or something, for example. Now, an alternative to this, if you don't want to go with the electrocution route, because, I mean, there's multiple ways to do this, the electrocute is just one way to completely freeze them. What you could do is go with the amplified aura and the growing darkness. So the amplified aura deals more damage the more people are in it, but I mean, this one is pretty much the same as this one, so it has to have 3 or more enemies in it for you to see the effect. So that's why I chose not to go with this one. And then this one grows larger and larger. This one I could see being a little more useful than this one in Heroes vs. Villains, because it just continually grows, and then you can maybe reach one extra person, and that stuns them long enough for that your teammates can jump on them, get the advantage, and then you can get easy kills. Okay, so let's discuss what I choose for Galactic Assault. Now, originally, I went with this Surge Lightning, which Chain Lightning can bounce to more targets. This is one of the most useless cards that there is for Palpatine. I don't know why this is in the game, because originally I thought, okay, this sounds pretty cool, I can hit 4 more people. Now, I went and tested this both online and on arcade, and I'm showing some gameplay right now, that the max you can hit is like 5-ish, something like that, 5 or 6 without this card. So there's like no need to use this card at all, because you are very rarely going to be in a situation where you need to hit more than 5 people with this lightning ability. So this is just not the one to go with. Now the one that you need that is the most important, this is the granddaddy of them all, the most important star card that Palpatine has. This is Lightning Absorption. Every target struck by Chain Lightning will heal Emperor Palpatine for a small amount of health. This is basically the boss card for Battlefront 2. This card is amazing. This is one of the best star cards in the game, because it's just, oh man, you get 4 or 5 people beside each other and bam, you get, I mean, because it stacks 30, 60, 90, 120. That's all. You get a lot of health pretty quickly just from damaging enemies. Yeah, so definitely go with Lightning Absorption. Skip out on Surge Lightning. Skip out on all the cards that were that I recommended for Heroes vs. Villains. And then go with the Lightning Reach and the In Full Control. I recently switched up my Palpatine loadout and found that this increased range actually makes a huge difference. And combining that with the stamina, like after this latest patch where they gave Palpatine more health and they gave him more stamina, combining that with this star card makes him a freaking beast. Like, you can just shock the crap out of people forever before he overheats. Now, I originally went with this Amplified Aura because I thought that it would work out pretty well in Galactic Assault, and it kind of does, because you do find more situations where there's 3 or more people, and it does a bit more damage, but it just doesn't do enough damage. Like, that 30%, it sounds like it would be significant, but it's really not. Like, it more or less just increases the rate that you get assists. So if you don't want to get kills and you want to get more eliminations, and some people do, because the more eliminations you get, the more points you get, and the more points you get, at the end of the match you get more credits. So I could see why you want more eliminations. So yeah, this is more of the assist kind of star cards, and then the lightning reach and the in full control and the lightning absorption are mainly if you want to be selfish like me and just racking the kills. So to recap everything that I went over today, basically dash, 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 jump, jump, jump. Make sure you have your dark aura activated anytime you go into like a dangerous room. Palpatine has this cool ability where he can multitask and he can shoot his chain lightning and his electrocution all at the same time while continually shooting out lightning from both his hands. It's freaking crazy. You want to use the up close and personal type of star cards for heroes versus villains, and for Galactic Assault I would go with the more of a ranged approach, go with the increased stamina, and then definitely go with the ability to heal yourself. And yeah, that basically sums up all the tips I have for you guys for Palpatine. If you guys have anything that I missed, then please let me know in the comments. So my current record with Palpatine is 114 kill streak on Kashyyyk, and the only reason it wasn't more than that was because my team decided they were just gonna give up in overtime and just not try for the objective anymore. But yeah, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to using Palpatine. Hopefully if you guys follow these tips and tricks, it can improve your overall Palpatine gameplay. Hopefully it can get you guys those big kill streaks, get you lots of points, get those eliminations in, get you the MVP of every match you play. And hopefully all these tips and tricks will make you the Sith Lord that you set out to be. Alright, well, if these tips and tricks helped you guys out, you should give it a big thumbs up, because it definitely helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps algorithm show that you guys like our videos. And if you want to see a different hero tips and tricks, then let me know in the comments down below which hero you want to see next. And that's going to do it for me, guys, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.
Your defeat is inevitable.
I warn you not to underestimate my powers.
Do not throw away your potential.
Don't force me to kill you!